Do you have what it takes to commit the perfect crime? Who is your Bonnie and who is your Clyde? Stay tuned for a crazy episode of The Act.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Guys, welcome back to the Act After Show on AfterBuzz TV. I'm one of your hosts, Linda Antwi, and to my immediate left, the amazing Chef Beanz. Hi, Chef.
Beanz with the mental cuisine. What's going on?
The mental cuisine. You know, this episode has me all in my feelings. I cannot believe that there's only one more episode left, and I just have so much to say. What were your overall thoughts of this Bonnie and Clyde?
My overall thoughts are like, I like how they built up the intensity at the beginning. You saw that they were still at the very earlier stages of this new life. But as soon as the episode started to come to end, you started seeing the walls closing in and everything crashing. So I was on the edge of my seat the entire episode because I kind of knew what was to come. What about you?
Yeah, I was riding that. They opened with them on the bus to Wisconsin. And I was like, this bus ride is ridiculous because it's the end. Right. You're riding into your destiny, or your destiny is not looking that great. And I, like you, was on the edge of my seat. And to think about it, for me, they didn't really have a lot of time out in the open, you know? Well, she kind of went from one jail to another jail. So we opened the scene with her being excited to start a new life with Nick in Wisconsin, but she gets to Wisconsin and the mom is picking them up. And that was, I thought, was interesting.
Right.
And the mom is like, ooh, she's a little too chippy for my liking. Right. And I knew right then and there it was not going to be a fit.
Too chippy and too chatty, because you got, remember, this is Gypsy's first couple of days into freedom. So all she's doing is what she think is right. But, you know, I don't know if this has ever happened to you when you were younger, if you were ever told that you talk too much. That's happened to me. So Chef, I feel like that's where the mamas come from. Like,
Chef,
hey,
they still tell me that I talk too much. On a regular. But that's okay, because I'm using it for the good now.
Right. Using your powers for good.
That's right. Yeah, she was a little too chippy, and I can be a little chippy too, but I love it. The thing that was the problem with them was that her and Nick weren't communicating. So she didn't even know that Nick told his mom that she was living in a homeless shelter. So she was like trying to be quick with it. And you could tell she was lying. Like, I'm surprised the mom didn't pay attention to how she was responding in the car.
No, definitely. Even Gypsy was surprised too. Like, oh yeah, sure. Like, my mom is in the homeless shelter. That's what I mean.
But like, she wasn't a good liar on the spot.
Right. Yeah, she didn't take that page out of Dee Dee's book, but we did see that she started to pick up other ways from Dee Dee later on in the episode.
Man,
you know?
I think that all of that was completely like, ooh, you guys have that generational curse. Like, every mom, every Blanchard is going to do this.
Right.
But what I thought was interesting, too, was that the mom was like, Nick's mom was acting like she was doing them a big favor.
Right.
They get to the house and Nick is already in his environment and he's already acting like it's not a big deal, like it's everyday regular. He goes to get the suitcases and she comes in and sits with Vance, the stepdad.
Right.
And Vance is like, sit down. And she felt uncomfortable from the beginning. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I did notice that. Like, she was in a new environment, but she still, like you said earlier, was in a prison type headspace. Like, why am I still being told what to do? It didn't seem as natural, or the fairy tale that she thought she was going to walk into from leaving the dungeness spot that she was at with her mother.
Yeah, that's exactly. And I wrote that down. I said, Gypsy's excited to start a new life with Nick in Wisconsin, but her new life doesn't match the happily ever after she had imagined. And I think this whole episode transpires with everything crumbling down, like you said. Like, everything that she had in her mind, the fairy tale was not going to be her reality. And so when mom tells Nick to show her around and she goes to the attic, she was like, I saw her face. Her face was like, this cannot be where I'm living. And when he opened up that, like, closet that said Gypsies, I was like, oh, is that like a pull-down closet bed? Because I don't know if I'd be excited.
Nick is trying, and I think this was definitely a great reflection of how his hotel room looked too. Messy, didn't have time to change it, so now he's back in his element, still very messy, and you can kind of see Gypsy Like the woman in her is just kind of like, what am I walking into?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, when you gave me a closet, she seemed happy about it, but you can tell that fairy tale that she wanted to paint, it still isn't matching up to her reality.
Yeah, I don't think she was happy at all. I think she was
Think it was a
surprised, and I think it was a shock to her system. I think that when she was like, where is my life going to fit in this attic? And Nick's first response was, oh, well, my rocks go here, which I think is an important thing because we see the rock thing throughout this episode, and my clothes go here. He didn't think that there was a problem, and that's basically where there was the disconnect between the two. Because what she, like she said further on in the episode, what she's trying to do is build their freedom, and he's trying to just get back into his day-to-day life. Not even thinking like, hey, you just killed somebody, and the two of you hopefully have never done this before and are not doing it right. Do you know what I mean? Like, you just don't jump back into your, like, hey, I'm going to go to the pizza joint and grab a pizza and work the next day. Or maybe you do. What do you think?
Well, I think this is still very telling of the innocence that still is instilled in Nick, being that I think they say he has a 15-year-old mindset, not Victor. I'm talking about Nick. I think that's why Nick is so like, okay, whatever, we took care of that. I did that out of love. That's why I'm still going to operate the way I'm going to operate. But you can see that Gypsy still has more anxiety and just anticipation than he does. More.
Well, because he's autistic, right? So in the show, he has multiple personalities. And on the show, the mom says that he does have like a 15, 16-year-old mentality, and that's what he'll always be. So he doesn't see the severity of what he's done.
Right.
But Gypsy does, because Gypsy knows what she's done, but she just doesn't want to take responsibility for it. So we see the mom, or we see Gypsy come down, and unlike her house, there's no food in the house. And she was like, what is your mom doing? Like, her job is to provide for her children, and she's clearly not going to provide for us. So if she's not going to provide for us, I'm going to provide for us. And what I thought was interesting to see was how she roped Nick into going to the grocery store and playing the victim and lying, because she's been doing it her whole life, and stealing like her mom stole before her and like her mom stole before her. So you have a family of thieves and a family of like, woe is me, rather than let me see how I can be a productive member of society. It's have pity on me because I have this ailment or this ailment or this ailment or this is going on. And so it's okay for me to steal from you.
It's a combination. It comes from a long stream and a long tree of manipulators. So as she's in the middle of her doing her misbehavior or her just not logical act, you see a reflection of her mother, and that's the guilty conscience that's coming to bang on her door. So even though she thought she escaped everything, her mental is still in that incarceration of the act that they just did.
That, or she's a master manipulator, just like her mom was.
You think that's what it was? Like a reflection of like, wow, I'm just like the person who brought me into this earth?
Yeah, I think that, we can have that nature versus nurture debate, but I think that in early age, you mimic what you see, and all she's known is her mom and her mom's manipulative behavior and the things that her mom made her do. And part of what her mom made her do was steal and lie to get her own way. And you see that as she's a 23-year-old doing the same thing.
Right.
Because that's all she knows, and she thinks it's okay. And she's roping someone else, just like Dee Dee roped her into it. She's roping someone else into her deceivious ways. Like, she says to Nick, okay, you know what you have to say. She makes Nick be the distraction to the people that are working at the grocery store. And you could see, like you said, the simpleness, I wouldn't say innocence, but the simpleness of Nick, where he's about to think about what he's going to say, but then he gets distracted by another rock and picks up the rock. And for a moment, he's happy. Like, that's all he cares about. But he goes in with the plan, and, they steal what they need to steal, and I think it was mashed potatoes.
Yeah, I thought it was rice at first, but then later on, I think they said that it was mashed potatoes.
Yeah, it was instant mashed potatoes. Ew, by the way, ew.
Gypsy's nasty.
Ew. So then they go back home, and they're watching TV, and Nick's mom is like, why don't you call your mom and patch things up? Because, I've seen this on an episode of Dr. Phil where, your mom might have personality disorder, And Vance jumps on that as well. And you could see Gypsy starting to freak out.
Yeah.
And she defending her mom. So she's in a weird place because she knows she helped kill her mom, but then she doesn't want other people to talk bad about her. What did you think of that?
Yeah, this is where you can start see her get sad and, like you said, like very defensive, because even earlier with nothing being in the refrigerator in the house, I think that was a reminder to her, like, no, well, my mom did take care of me. Like, there was actual food in the house. Even when she said something about, like, Pepto-Bismol, like, y'all don't have any medicine, I think it was very telling about how good she had it on that. And not saying it was a good situation, but I think it struck a chord for her. And that's why she was like, well, I could talk about my mom, but none of y'all going to talk about my mom.
Yeah, I think that she doesn't. I don't know. I don't know if she thought she had it good, but I think that the things that she took for granted, she took for granted.
Right.
So when she talked about her mom giving her stuffed animals every time she went to the hospital, or going to conventions, or singing to her when she was sick, all of those things, she's making a terrible situation better than it ever was, because the situation she's in now seems like it's just as bad.
Right.
So rather than be in a situation with strangers and the strangers are saying, hey, you know what? You come from a messed up situation. No, she's going to defend it and say, basically, like, my situation and I'm better than what's going on here.
Right.
That's what I thought it was more of, rather than her thinking like, oh, I'm just going to defend my mom because it was the best. No, she's defending herself and her pride and her honor.
Right. Ego, a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely, a lot of that. And so we see a little bit of that. She freaks out and she runs out of the room. And I'm thinking she's having like a slight panic attack. And like you talked about, there was no medicine to settle her tummy. And then she wants to go home to Springfield. I was like, yeah, that sounds ridiculous, and you're coming apart at the seams, because how do you possibly think that you're going to go back to the house that you killed your mom in?
It's back to the things that she took for granted. Maybe it's some sense of stability that she saw there. Like, it was still like her environment. Maybe that's why she wanted to run back to Springfield. And I truly do believe that she started to, miss her mother.
Yeah, I think that she was feeling guilt for sure.
Yeah.
And regret for sure. And I think that, I mean, I can't imagine, you're missing your mom, but then you're the reason why your mom's not there. That's got to be a crazy tough place to be in. I don't know. Let's shout out some of our people that are in the live chat, because they've got a lot to say. So Math and Pajan, all you guys, I like what Math is saying. He's saying the cycle continues. And Pajan, like you, thought that it was rice in the box too. I thought it was rice too, man. And I don't know, guys. It was a crazy, crazy episode. Crazy episode for sure.
Bonnie and Clyde this is
They were like the whack Bonnie and Clyde, though.
Yeah,
the whack version had no game.
Sloppy.
But speaking of game, we have great game here at AfterBuzz TV. So why don't we tell our listener and viewers a little bit more about it?
Yes. So before we move on to the next topic, we just want to say thank you for making us the ESPN of TV talk. We can't do this without you. So in order for us to continue, we need you to do a few things. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're on iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating. But no matter where you are, please leave us a nice, healthy, organic topic. AfterBuzz TV has definitely given all of us confidence inside and outside of the studio. You can also check us out on Spotify, but please just make sure that you stay fans, you stay great, and continue to be AfterBuzzers.
Yes, and we love you here at AfterBuzz, and we love the show like we're addicted.
Yes.
Like, there's going to be a small tear in my eye next week when it's all over. So back to Gypsy. So she is feeling homesick. She's feeling like they didn't just commit a murder, and that she could
Right.
probably just go back and but first they need to tell someone that Dee Dee's there. So they go on Facebook to get Dee Dee help, and they write Dee Dee is dead.
And that wasn't good enough, though.
But that wasn't good enough. And you know what's crazy to me, Shaq?
What's going
That
on?
it was Dee Dee that came up with the words that B is dead. It was Dee Dee's manipulative, crazy, dark side that wrote that post.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
What do you mean, really? Did we watch the same
Didi
show?
or
Gypsy.
Oh, okay.
Did I say Didi?
Yeah, you said
Gypsy.
Didi. That's what I'm like. Where did Didi come
Yeah.
from? That's what I was at.
Gypsy. Out of the two of them, Gypsy and Nick.
Gypsy was the one saying like, yeah, that's not spicy enough. We need to spice this up. We need to make it believable. And they just kept tapping in. And she said, no, let's bring Victor out. I don't know what Nick is talking about, but let's bring Victor out if he's going to be the one to bring the spice.
Yeah, but I almost feel like her keep talking about Victor is that's who she connected with because she has that dark side in her. And she's the one that brings it out all the time.
You're right.
And she's like, what would Victor do? What would Victor do? But Victor never answers. You always answer your own question, Gypsy, and you always make it the worst. So I don't know.
She's in control because as you can see, Nick has that simple side of him, and she's just better like, no, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're not going to do.
Exactly.
You can start to see Gypsy just taking, well, not start because she's been doing it for a couple episodes, but just taking control of the wheel. Like, this is how it's going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think that, she was the master of this devious plan. So we go back to Springfield, and Lacey's coming home to her boyfriend, and she gets an alert on social media, and that alert is that B is dead. And so she calls her mom about the post and says, you got to check out the joint page that Dee Dee and Gypsy have on Facebook. And they do, and they go to check on Dee Dee, and they call the cops because there's no answer. Turns out Dee Dee's dead, and they're like tripping.
Yeah, everybody's tripping, and I think it was very funny. The wisest thing that Nick may have said was, "You didn't turn the location off." I thought that was the most profound thing that Nick said this whole season.
I mean, yes, that was the smartest thing he had said, and that probably could have saved them. And when Gypsy, who thought that she thought of everything, hit that send button after that post that I can't really read, but the effing / that fat pig and did this and this, I was like, oh, Disney Gypsy is long gone.
Yeah, Disney Gypsy, Cinderella, Rapunzel, whoever you want to call her, she's long gone.
Long gone, because like you said, spicing up the post that you posted on your joint Facebook page with your mom is that's outrageous.
Yeah.
And that's what you thought Victor would write? Or is that what you would write because that's what you did write?
Right. And even they were I like how they brought back the same scenes that they had in episode 1 as far as with the flashlights on the bears, how they found Dee Dee under the cover. That brought back those same chills, but this gave it more of a story of how it led up to that point.
Right. Gypsy led them right to her mom. She wanted her mom found, thinking that the mom's going to be found, they're going to think it's somebody else, and that she's going to move back to her Habitat for Humanity house in Springfield and just keep living her life, but free.
And ship the murder weapon too. It was just a lot of messiness.
Listen, she was a hot mess. So in Big Bend, it's chicken night.
Okay, right.
And I was just like, this poor simple man. So the mom says, okay, you guys can have 2 pieces. He's excited. It's chicken night.
Right.
And then Vance is like, well, you have a package here. And she freaks out again. She's about to have a panic attack and goes and tries to take the package from Vance. And Vance is like, I don't open other people's mail.
Right.
And she grabs it. And then she wants to get rid of it immediately. And poor Nick. Nick is like, but it's chicken night.
Right.
And she's like, well, the chicken can wait, right? And he's like, not really, because then it would get cold. And I just sat there. I put it on pause when I was watching it, and I'm looking at his face, and I'm looking at her face, and he was sincere. He was like, I'm having my fried chicken right now. It's chicken night. I don't care about that murder weapon.
Right, you could tell the love was still there. He's like, yo, Gypsy, I love you, but it's chicken night. And even when they transition outside and she's trying to yell his ear off, what does he find on the ground? Another rock. He's like, you could tell he's just like not 100. The urgency isn't there with him at all.
There was no urgency.
He's just worried about that chicken.
Yeah, that chicken, that's it. So she runs outside. He takes that one last bite before he follows her out, which I thought was very funny. And she asks, where is this lake? And she freaks out. She's like, we were supposed to start our new life together. I'm waiting for our happily ever after to start, and it's not starting. And I'm stuck in this weird mess with evidence of the killing. And I was like, you know what? See? Everything that you imagine in your mind, and that saying where the grass is always greener on the other side, it's true. It may not always be greener on the other side. Right. And you have to think about every action has a consequence and a reaction. And she never thought of that.
I felt a little bad for Nick. A little bad for Nick, and we could talk about it more later too with news and gossip with some other information that I got. But you can tell Nick was, like I said, not really that present in her same level of urgency. He was just kind of like, what's going on? I did what you told me to do. We're going to live our life right now. We're at mom's house. Just,
Like, chill.
Like, chill out.
Yeah.
Chill.
I found this rock. It's making me happy, and you're stressing me all the way out.
Right.
Can we go back inside and just have some chicken?
Right.
And they have to go back inside because the mom calls them in. But back in Springfield, Lacey is asking where Gypsy is, and the police are at the house. They're looking around, and the police track back that Facebook post to Big Bend, Wisconsin. And when they said who is in Wisconsin, I was like, the end.
Right.
Bonnie and Clyde, it's over. That location tracking. It's the end for you two.
It's about to go down.
It's about to go down. So they flash to Gypsy and Nick being in his I was going to say his apartment room, his attic room. And she finds this paper where he has written down all the things that he should do for her, and she didn't like it. Oh, compliment her and feed her and all of this stuff. And you could see that she was about to explode on him, but the police show up, and you see the flashing lights in the back, and Gypsy is about to lose her mind. And I thought these two were ridiculous because you're going to hide in the closet, which is super cliche.
Right.
And you think that the police, with the lights like that, with the SWAT team, is not going to check the closet?
I think in this moment, though Gypsy was very serious the whole episode, I don't even think she really acknowledged the severity of the whole situation.
Yep.
I think this was just a reflection of still not innocence, but how she just isn't hip to how reality and society really works. That's what I thought. Like, she's like, wait, let's just hide in the closet, everything like that. You can tell that was just a reflection of her being sheltered for 23 years. Like, it still didn't connect.
So?
That's how I feel. I think it still didn't connect with her because of how everything went down.
Guys, what do you think? I don't think so, because I feel for someone who was online into this BDMD stuff with the whips and the chains and the knives, planning her mom's murder and all of the things that she did to get up to this point. I feel like she knew better, but she was out of options. And that's why she was like trying to go out the window, but Nick's like, I tried to jump out the window last time, so they nailed it shut. She knew there was no way out, so she wanted to almost like deflect, like it wasn't really happening, like go back into her imagination about her happily ever after and the fairy tale and all of this, and knowing that it was not going to go away, but hoping that it was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because she had no other options, and that's the only reason I think that she was like, well, I'm gonna hide from it until it's in my face. So the police come, guns are drawn. His parents are taken out of the house, not knowing what's going on.
Right.
And I thought, wow, that had to have been a crazy situation. And then the police are like, don't make any sudden moves, come out of the closet, all of that. And then when they ask, is Nick your son, to the parent, is he inside, all of this stuff, the mom's like, listen, he's harmless.
Right.
He doesn't know anything, and if he did anything, it's because of his new girlfriend. She walked straight into the house, and when the police were like, she walked into the house.
Yeah, everybody was surprised.
Everyone was surprised.
But even inside the closet, you saw that Nick still tried to troubleshoot and solve the issue. Like, hey, my mom doesn't like cops, so she's going to shoo him off.
Yep.
And Gypsy's panicking. She's telling him, hey, you're a hero. Don't worry about anything. It was just the downfall of this Bonnie and Clyde storyline. Like, you just see everything literally crashing down to where they had nowhere else to go.
Yeah. Hanan in the live chat says it's a reflection of how in her mind reality is a Disney movie. It's a good point, for sure.
Definitely.
So they flash forward to Detective Crawford, who you see Gypsy. she's on this couch, obviously at the police station, and he's driven up from Springfield. And you could tell from his demeanor that he knew exactly that she was involved and he didn't want to BS, and let's cut to the chase. So he says, you need to be honest with me. Your mom's dead, Gypsy. And when she acts surprised, I was so mad at her. I was like, you don't think he already know? Like, he knows that you know she's dead.
Right. But this is part of, like I said, that fairy tale world where she thinks she can get away with stuff. Like, okay, they're going to believe everything that I said because all of her life, or most of her life, her being in a wheelchair, her mom steering the wheel. Oh, just act like this, act like that, and everything will go away. That I feel like this was another situation to where she's like, okay, I'm just going to tell him this, bat my eyes, cry, look sad.
I agree with that.
It's just kind of like, no, I'm seeing through all of this.
But Chef, that's manipulation. And yes, he was seeing right through that.
Yes.
She was like, let me talk in my baby talk voice. Let me act so innocent and take no responsibility. And when she started saying that she had no idea what happened to her mom that night, she didn't know that Nick was going to kill her, all of that, I was like, you know what? You're a terrible individual. You already know how Nick is, and you're going to let him take all the blame just to save yourself. That shows how not only are you a manipulator, but you're selfish, you're narcissistic, like all of that stuff. Do you agree with that?
No, I agree 100%. I agree 100%. And even from watching the documentary, like we said before, you notice that they had access to all of the messages from the Christian website, everything from leading up to it. Of course, she didn't know that, but this is what happens in the real world.
Yeah, so Crawford says, I know you know. I know that you did this. So no more lies. Don't dig yourself any further deeper into this mess. You need to say that you killed your mom and that you knew Nick was going to kill. And on the flip side, Nick is telling the truth. He's like, I did actually, stab her mother. I did it for her and me and our lives together. Mom wanted everyone to know that, like, think that she was still 16 and she felt trapped and all this stuff. And then I saved her, he said. And when the detective says, well, did Gypsy know? He was like, yeah, she's actually the one that asked me.
Right.
And I thought in his interrogation that his simplicity and honesty was almost refreshing. Like, don't BS me. I know he doesn't know any better, but, like, this is what happened. Do you agree with that?
No, I agree 100%. You can feel the tension was less in his interview or interrogation as opposed to Gypsy's, because Gypsy was being combative with it, just not being honest. And in his, he was completely open with how everything came out. So it was very refreshing to see, but it just sucks that this girl that you basically threw your life away for isn't being as supportive or on the same side as you. Her words aren't matching up with her actions.
And that's exactly what his mom said. Like, I cannot believe that he threw his life away for this. And when the detective said, does Gypsy know you have multiple personalities? Does Gypsy know you were going to kill her mother? Does Gypsy know? Does Gypsy know? All of these things she knew. And it was so telling the way he was answering. I just thought, oh my God, this moment right here is really, really powerful, because all he kept saying was, we're going to build a family together and I love her.
Right.
Oh,
I love her. We're going to start a family. Everything after this is all cool because of everything that was built up this 3 years of knowing this girl. Even the conversation in the closet with Gypsy telling him everything is going to be okay. He really believed that everything was going to be okay. And that released a lot more heaviness off his shoulders when it came to talking to the police, because in his mind, he truly believed that everything was going to be okay and that he was the hero in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And then when it started to get a little bit darker, when the police officer was like, did you have sex with Dee Dee? Did you have sex with the dead body? Did you lick her? And all of those other questions that she asked. And she's like, well, I have to ask because of your record. And then when she talked about what he did in the McDonald's for 9 hours, I was like, oh.
That was intense and disturbing.
What is happening here? Children are at McDonald's. So, like, what does that say about you, Nick? And, Like, ugh. But yeah, they're poor Nick.
Yeah,
Poor Nick, but not poor Nick, because he's simple, but he does have that dark side, and he has that disturbing side that someone can tell you, hey, do this, go kill this person, and you do it just because you love the person, you say.
Right.
Still, that's very disturbing.
You know what I thought about earlier too? How Gypsy's mother, Dee Dee, you know, put her under a lot of like scrutiny, investigation, didn't really let her do anything. But Nick, really suffering from this illness, he still had a certain level of autonomy to have a job, to be able to catch a Greyhound in Springfield, everything like that. So I just thought that was very like, I don't know, like very like telling how parenting just varies in different households.
Yeah.
This is messy. All of it is just messy.
Yeah, let's go with that. It was messy. So we flip to the neighbors, Lacey and Mel, holding a candlelight vigil for Dee Dee. And then we see the news flash, and the cops are holding a news conference, and they say, so before that, Nick and Gypsy both are charged. They're both booked into jail, and the cop says Gypsy's safe. It's an ongoing investigation. Things are not always as they appear. And then it flashes to orange suits.
Right.
And handcuffs, and Gypsy in handcuffs as she's walked into court and told the nation that she conspired to kill her mom.
And everyone was mad, like very upset. Like mad is an understatement. Like furious.
Yeah, it was gross.
Because all these years of manipulation and donations and everything like that.
Yeah, it was gross. It was gross. And I can only imagine what this last episode is going to look like. It was gross. Let's move on to some news and gossip.
All right.
So, some news and gossip. There's always so much with the act, and I know that if you guys are like us, you're sucked in 100% with the show and with Joey and with Patricia and all of that. So this first picture that I have is of Joey with her dog, and I thought it was super sweet. And what she has written is, we've got a stage 5 clinger, which is funny because in the act, I think between her and Nick, they were both stage 5 clingers together.
Definitely.
Right? And then in the next photo that we have here, she's moved on to a new project. So she is playing a pregnant teen in Life in Pieces on CBS, and her tag is, I'm pregnant with delight that my first episode of Life in Pieces is airing tomorrow night at 9:30. So excited to be on the show, and I've always had so much fun. And if you flip to the next one, again, it's her pretending to be pregnant on the show. So she's kind of like moving on after this because we're wrapping up the act, and she's moving on to her next gigs. And in our next photo, we have Joey and Callum Worthy, so Nick in real life. And look how different he looks.
Right.
He's like a ginger. Right?
No, definitely looks a lot happier.
Yeah. It looks a lot normal. So I thought that was a really cute photo of the two of them by Getty. Now, this photo here is going to be a little bit about our next one here with... this little, what are these called? The mascots?
Right, mascots.
So that's the real Gypsy with the Springfield mascot. And the reason I wanted to show this one is because in between hospital stays, Gypsy and Dee Dee frequently flew across the country to concerts, met celebrities, did meet and greets, went to galas, and even to Disney World with expenses paid by charitable organizations, including the Make-A-Wish Foundation. And so this is one of the events that they went to. If we can pull that right back up, that'd be great. They went to a game, and all on the dime of the peoples.
And everyone who was pissed off when they saw her walking in the courtroom.
And this is in reality. This is the real deal. If we can go to the next photo, please, that'd be great. So this is the actual house in reality that she grew up in. So it's not as pink as we see on the act, but it's actual house where she grew up in. And in Springfield, and we can see that that ramp is real. So they did an excellent job in replicating the home. And in our next one, we have, do you know who this is? This is Alicia, and I might be saying it wrong. It's Alicia Woodmansey, who is Lacey.
Yeah, that's why she kind of resembles Lacey a little bit.
Yeah, she's Lacey in the act. Okay. And according to her, Dee Dee didn't approve of their relationship in the girl talk and even destroyed Gypsy's laptop and cell phone so the two teens couldn't communicate. So when we saw that in previous episodes, that was based off of a real thing that happened. Yeah. In the next photo, this is the actual house. So this is Gypsy Blanchard's bedroom in the pink house in Missouri where she lived with her mom, Dee Dee. And she's quoted as saying, "It was not because I hated her. It was because I wanted to escape her." And if we can just blow that up just a tad, you see how crazy accurate the room was to the actual act. So this is in reality, that's her actual room.
With the teddy bears and everything
teddy bears and the flowers and the pink and almost even the clutter, right? So all of those stuffed animals, they did create a lot of clutter. And then in the next photo, we have the kitchen / dining room. And I always felt like Dee Dee might have been the hoarder a little bit. So Gypsy and Dee Dee Blanchard's pink home living room was built by Habitat for Humanity. And you can just see there's junk everywhere. Like there's a Pepsi bottle can thing, and there's like just junk.
And painted walls like a dollhouse type feel.
I almost feel like the pink looks hospital pink.
It looks creepy pink to me,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just was like, wow, and this is the actual home. And Gypsy is quoted as saying, "I'd start crying and feeling remorse and guilt at the same time," which they portrayed on the act. The actual Gypsy said this in real life. "Also missing her at the same time, worrying about what she had just done. She's gone," said Gypsy in real life. And in the next photo, we have family Kim and David Blanchard. In the days after the killing, they were alarmed when they saw a vulgar status update appear on Gypsy and Dee's joint Facebook that said, "That bee is dead." So "that bee is dead" is an actual thing that actually stays on Facebook right to this day. And if we go to the next one, Gypsy Blanchard's wheelchair is pictured here in the bathroom of the house she shared with her mom. And she's quoted as saying, "Now that it's about when I panicked," and she did an interview with 2020, "we had never, ever, ever seen Gypsy not in a wheelchair." So her whole family had never seen her not in a wheelchair. So when they had that news conference and they walked her through,
even they were shocked.
They were shocked.
Wow.
Yeah. And then in real life, this is the actual medicine cabinet in Gypsy's house. So look at all of the different medicines, like tons and tons and tons of just pure medicine.
I think that's probably why it was a trigger earlier in the episode when she was like, "Y'all don't even got Pepto?"
Yeah.
Because she's used to thousands of medicines.
Exactly. Thousands of medicines. Exactly. In the next one, ABC News exclusive has the actual birth certificate. So this is in real life. And doctored birth certificate Dee Dee Blanchard used for her daughter, Gypsy Blanchard, is pictured here. And Dee Dee forged a fake birth certificate for Gypsy and changed her birth year from 1991 to 1995 to make Gypsy younger. And there was a point when Gypsy just stopped asking how old she was because her mom would get upset. So that was a true story as well that we saw in the act. In the next one, photo is, I looked up the Facebook page. This is what the landing page looks like.
Right.
So if you look up D and then GYP Blanchard spelled with an E, this is what comes up, and it's a legacy page. And a legacy page is a page that is in remembrance of someone that has passed away. So this will always be there. You can't post on it, but you can share the posts that are already there.
Okay.
And you see that there's like some type of Comic-Con, something in the back. And then you see Gypsy's picture with the puppy. And it's it's a teddy bear if I look at it closer, stuffed animal, which completely makes sense. That's still there, and it's in memorial. And if you go to the next one, the post from June 14th, 2015 is the actual post that has "That bitch is dead." And August 6th, 2014, I thought this was interesting for this episode specifically. They posted the Star Wars attraction teased for Disney theme park of 2013 D23 Expo. And we know in this episode that that's all she was talking about was Star Wars. Like, we get to Wisconsin. I know it's some time away, but let's go to the opening. And even when the police officer was questioning her, what did she say?
She said, am I still going to be able to watch that?
I was just like, I wanted to slap her in that moment. In our last but not least photo, so you guys, we know that the act is an anthology series, and I'm a little upset because that means that we're not going to see more of this.
Right.
We're not going to see more of Dee Dee. What we are going to see is, yes, there probably is going to be a second season, but it hasn't been officially announced, and we don't know what true crime story that they're going to have. But it's probably going to be a different true crime story. Oh, yeah, let's pull that one up. So this photo right here, this is the actual interrogation of Dee Dee. So in this episode where we saw Joey as Dee Dee and the cop, Joey as Gypsy and the cop. This is the actual true interrogation photo that Joey posted on her Instagram.
Which is very, very creepy. And even from the documentary, you see Joey did an amazing job at emulating the same way that Gypsy was acting during the interrogation.
Yeah, I mean, look at even the red couch, the color of the walls, and how she was sitting. So if we go to the other one where it's actually Joey, you'll see that they did an amazing job in replicating that situation.
Absolutely.
Man, it was crazy. In real life, I wanted to say real quick, in real life, Nick lived with his mother. Her name was Stephanie Goldammer, and his stepfather, Charles Goldammer. And according to real police and media interviews, neither knew anything. Stephanie's police interviews in the act were based off of her real ones, and they were pretty much verbatim what she said to the police tapes, shown in the HBO documentary, Mommy Dead and Mommy Dearest. And she says, quote, "You know, it was weird because when I picked them up from the bus station, I even asked her, 'How's your mom doing?' I was told she was in a homeless shelter. Her mom kicked her out," Stephanie said. "So I asked her how her mom was doing. That might have been the first thing I asked her. No big deal. They acted like nothing." So do you see how verbatim they pulled that into the act? That actually happened. And if you watch the documentary, you'll see that they pulled that from the interrogation. And for a little added drama, guys, remember last week I told you that Gypsy got engaged? And so Gypsy's wearing a wedding ring. People are wondering where she got the wedding ring from. Well, guys, the wedding ring is a loaner from another inmate. So a family friend, Fancy Malassi, told E! News that the ring, which is reportedly like has a gold band, is actually from another inmate at Missouri's Chalote Correctional Center, where Gypsy is incarcerated. Another inmate was getting divorced and gave her that so that she would just have something so that she could feel good about her engagement. And they'll go together and pick out rings later at a later time when she's out, and they can do that on their own time.
Okay, so she has a Snapchat. She's able to interact with people to get proposed to. She has a ring. It's just too messy for me.
Listen, life is mimicking art, or art is mimicking life, they say. Whatever it is, it's a messy situation. Like, you are in jail for killing your mom with your boyfriend that is also in jail, who will never have a chance to get out. Then you meet some dude online in some inmate pen pal situation. You take these photos that look like you're in prom while you're in prison, and now you have a borrowed ring from another inmate who's getting divorced. Girl, that all doesn't look good. You don't take someone else's ring who's getting a divorce. That right there is a bad omen. You're off to a bad start. Can you imagine when you get out what's going to happen? Ridiculous.
Messy.
Guys, let's continue conversation. There's so much more in reality. There's so much more that's going to happen next week. If you saw the previews, you're probably sitting on the edge of your seat just like we are. If you want to continue the conversation, and please do, hit us up in the comments on YouTube, DM us, send us a tweet like you guys normally do. You can reach me all across social media at Linda So Girly.
And you can find me at chef_Beanz with the Z.
Guys, thank you for tuning in. We love you guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
See ya.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.